Yeah, of course, Lebanon inspired me. I mean, I think this is where I started.
Welcome to the first ever episode of Tarab, the podcast where we explore some of the artists shaping contemporary Arabic music today. I'm Saeed Saeed, music writer for The National, and your host. We're kicking off this series with a conversation with Yasmine Hamdan, an artist whose work has redefined what Arabic indie music can sound like. From her early days with the pioneering Beirut duo SoapKills to acclaimed solo albums, she built a distinctive voice in contemporary Arabic music. Her new album, Bensa وبذكر, is her most personal yet, inspired by Beirut, partly shaped in Sicily, and blending Arabic traditions with adventurous electronic production. Yasmine Hamdan is with us now. This is almost like the calm before the storm. Essentially, you're back with a new album. Perhaps this is something that many people didn't expect. It's like a great surprise for the second half of the year. But also, as well as that, there's talks of lots of shows. You know, you're hitting the road as a solo artist, seeing a different side of you, of your artistry. So, how does it feel? I mean, does it feel like you are on the cusp of something really significant?
I don't know. I stopped touring in 2019 with my previous record, Al Jamilat. And I decided back then to take like a year off to just do the things I never have the time to do and to connect with the people I love and to also reflect on the music and on my next work. But then COVID came, the lockdown, then before the economical crisis in Lebanon, and then the explosion, and then all these things I had to somehow process. And it took me some time to gather my thoughts and also to understand what I wanted to come up with and the tonality of this new record. And and I wanted to take my time. I was going against the general tendency of productivity and communication and being full on all the time, present, working on something, trying to connect or to engage in this kind of world that is very noisy, to my opinion. I really wanted to take a step back and reflect. And so it took me some time to do this record because I didn't have the clarity, and it also came as a process of transforming some very painful experiences like the Beirut port explosion and all the rest.
Because I was going to say, right, by you taking time off in 2019, as you're saying before, a lot of significant things happened between now, 2025 and 2019. So yes, so we had COVID, which essentially upended and changed the music industry in ways that we still don't know. Okay, we had the significant challenges that happened in Lebanon. Okay, so when this album, I remember, I forget.
In Arabic, it's بنسى وبتذكر.
Yeah, بنسى وبتذكر. Yeah.
Translation in English kind of shifted the word. Yeah.
Yeah. So this album, right? When you're recording this album, you basically entered a studio in a music industry that has changed. And you're speaking about some of these songs, about an experiences in Lebanon, in a country that has changed. And on top of that as well, you as an artist, you made a concerted effort to change your approach. You wanted to get off the treadmill, off the music industry. So there's a lot of things going on there. So when you were talking about creating this record and just finding in the process, what dictated it? Was it the songs? Did you realize you had an album in your hands once you had a couple of songs together?
Actually, I never think of my work in relationship to the musical industry. I actually kind of wanted to mute a lot of noises outside. So I didn't really think of anything else but to reconnect to the essence of why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I want to continue doing music. I had no plans. I didn't want to put any kind of pressure or any kind of deadline or any kind of target aside from the pleasure of creating, of dreaming, of motivating myself in a way. It was giving me strength of reconnecting with something inside of me and also connecting with musicians. So it was really a very organic process, and I had no plan whatsoever. Of course, when the work started to evolve, I started feeling that I started having plans, but they were not at all organized. I started feeling that, okay, this can become a record. And I think when I had four ready songs that really made me feel happy, and when I started having studio sessions with musicians, because I have a lot of musicians recorded on this record. And when I started working hours and hours, because I have my home studio and I do a lot here, like maybe I do 90% of the work in my home studio. So when I started working and becoming more and more excited, something kind of was revived in me, and I started working on the idea, a global idea of a record.
This album comes out in September. So at the moment, we're reading a lot about what to expect from this album and your motivations. And one of the things that I've read is the song Hon.
هون شو صاير هون انهياركم حب يوم ورا يوم بستجوب.
Perhaps was the first song you wrote for this record. So when you're talking about the four songs that kind of helped guide the way, this is the one that you specifically mentioned. What is it about that song? Because from a little from an initial listen, you are kind of blending a personal narrative.
Always do blend personal narratives in a way, but this one was very difficult for me to articulate. First of all, because I had a blockage. I really, for the first time in my life, I was going through an accumulation of crisis. So what happened is I was blocked with the lyrics. It's very easy for me to do music. It's very easy for me to have ideas or to have create the context of a song or to produce a song or to imagine stuff. It's because it's a very intuitive process that doesn't need words, that doesn't put a frame. But then when it came to writing the lyrics and to articulating the real intention with words, that was really tough for me. And it took me a long time to be able to, first of all, calm down, be able to connect and understand what I wanted to say. And I'm really aware that I'm in a very privileged place where I can, first of all, transform painful experiences through music, which is really a gift in a way. And also, in a way, I respect this place where this platform that I have, and I feel very responsible towards it. And I want to pick the right words and the right tonality that makes me feel that I'm tuned with who I am and what I'm going through. So this is not an easy process.
Was it a confidence issue as well? Not confidence in a sense, because look, because because you've done this before. At the end of the day, there's a certain level of insecurity that every creative person has, and you stepped away from music to give yourself the time that you so richly deserve to yourself. So, when you reflect on Hon, right, and how difficult it was initially to get the melodies that you wanted and the words that you wanted, was it from that?
The melody was easy.
Easy.
It's the lyrics that really, they came like a puzzle. And they came in a very experimental way. Like the first thing is I started working with a Palestinian poet, and he sent me a poem. And at first when I read it, I was like, I cannot. I don't work with ready-made lyrics. It doesn't fit me because I compose, I write, so it needs to resemble me. But then 2 weeks later, I came back to the poem and I read it again. And there's one phrase that opened my mind and an image. And then it was a process. And then in 21, after a year and a half of not visiting Lebanon and having to process all this suffering, I had some words that came up to me and I started working. And this is how I did. I think the way I see it, it was like embroidery, or like I did this record layer by layer, layer by layer.
Because also, I mean, what's interesting here also as well is that, like, sometimes you don't need it, like even a fragment of a lyric could open something, as opposed to like a whole.
Yeah, of course. Actually, it starts by a word sometimes. It starts by an image. It starts by a desire. It can start. It depends. Previously, the way I worked previously it was different. So many of the songs were sometimes ignited by conversations I had with taxi drivers in Beirut. You can meet some crazy characters or really funny characters, and they would say things that were so deep.
What's an example of a song like that, if you don't mind me asking? Because I
have many. One of them is Iza. I was in a taxi and the guy said, إذا زعلت زعلت زيادة.
إذا زعلت زعلت زيادة.
And I find it funny. And so
that's like if you get angry, like get really angry.
I get angry too much, or if I drink too much, but this character I liked it. I don't know why when I would enter a taxi in Beirut, they would always start talking to me and telling me really intimate things, like their problems, their health problems. I mean, it's very funny. So many times I would be like taking notes, but it starts by an image or a word or a desire.
Because one of the songs, right, from the new album, Shimali, it uses the idea of encrypted Palestinian woman songs. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's explain that aspect, that encrypted Palestinian woman songs, and like how did you come across that concept, and how did that kind of factor in to this song?
I fell on this song when I was researching something, and I really was completely in awe. First of all, the melody was very catchy, and the idea of resisting with poetry. And this is a song. These songs are songs that were transmitted by women throughout generations, and these women, or this form of song that is called tarwida, is a form of resistance because they are coded words, coded lyrics that were used by these women to express joy or sorrow, and it's known to be songs that women would go and sing to their loved ones, and in order to, at the prisons, jails doors, or outside the jails, and they were in a way escaping control. in a way, they managed through these songs to, instead of them being excluded, to exclude the jailer, to exclude the authority that is oppressing them, occupying them. So for me, it was a symbol, and when I wanted to cover it, it was really before everything we are witnessing now. So in a way, this song is a gift for me because it also allowed me to show some solidarity. And I wanted this song to be, because there are a few versions of it, and the original song that I listened to was it's kind of a mellow, beautiful song, but I wanted this one to be like a more dancing, more a victorious song, like more like a hymn. So yeah, it was really fun for me to work on it. I remember when I went to the studio with Marc Collin, who co-produced this record with me. He had just bought a vintage synthesizer. I don't know, from the 60s maybe, and he never had worked or done anything on it. And so we said, okay, let's try it, and we started to have fun with it. And then things came together very gradually. We asked some people to do, like a percussionist, to do some loops. I called a musician that I work with to do the synth. Then I edited all the proposals, and it came together. We re-edited it. I mean, we worked on it for a long time. I asked my sister to come and sing with me the backing vocals in order to have like a chorale, like a group of women singing. So she had to learn. It was not easy to learn the lyrics because it was not so I had to really remember them.
You were saying before, when you decided to take your break, that yes, you were tired. People don't think they understand that you're performing. End of the day, you write the music, you perform. You are the promotional face.
You travel a lot.
Yeah, you travel a lot, and I think all of this comes from what people don't perhaps understand, that you are still a fully fledged indie artist, and that's what you've always been. From your work with the SoapKills to your solo career. When I interview people now, and they talk about the legacy of the Lebanese music scene, particularly the Arabic indie music scene, your name is mentioned a lot. It's like as one of the pioneers. So when you look back, particularly at that period, when you first, about 20 something years ago, people always talk about that period, the advent of the Lebanese indie music scene, or the modern Lebanese indie music scene, as being very vibrant, very colorful. Was it genuinely like that, or was it more romanticizing? How do you look back at it today, all these years later?
It was a very particular period of time because everything was possible. The country was at the beginning of something. The civil war had ended. There was some hope that after all this destruction, some things will be corrected. That actually the country will heal. So when I started music with SoapKills, I myself was kind of very melancholic about the country, the situation. We are this generation that inherited the civil war without understanding, without having to do anything with it, and the traces of it was everywhere, reminding us of this really alienating reality of what war is, what suffering is. And these traces actually were very much like a burden. I felt them like a burden. I also never lived in Lebanon before. So when I came back, I had to discover the whole context. And
came back from
many places.
Yeah.
We lived in Kuwait, we lived in Abu Dhabi, we lived in Greece, we lived in Al.
So when you arrived to live in Beirut at that time, how old were you and what were your impressions? Because you already had a very cosmopolitan upbringing, but to be home, to be told that this is your homeland, this is where the DNA is. How did that feel at that particular age?
I don't think anybody told me this is where your DNA. We just came back. We were living in Kuwait, and then I actually was there when Saddam Hussein invaded. So I lived this experience of exodus, and this is an experience that really marked me I was I think 13 or 14. I don't remember, but I was really struck by what I saw, and I really felt back then that I was living a historical moment. So it was for us, for me it was not like, oh, I came back to my country. I just came back to this place where my parents come from, and where I have a lot of family, where and a place to which I somehow had a lot of emotional ties. There was something really charming about the place, the light, the sounds. After the war, we didn't have electricity all the time, but even that, to have the candle lights and all of this, it was not. It was a bit romantic somehow, because the country was at the beginning of something.
Yeah, that context, like that background where the country was at that stage, were you aware that you're kind of developing these artistic inclinations?
No, no.
So I wonder, like, do you think going back to Lebanon at that time, a country that was kind of experiencing a new window, a new possibilities, do you think that in a way that kind of helped, that kind of triggered, or perhaps like laid some seeds in terms of you exploring music or being more drawn towards that?
Yeah, of course, Lebanon inspired me. I mean, and I think I think this is where I started. This is the starting point of my career, and it still inspires me. It's still, I mean, the tie is always there, but not only Lebanon, it's the region.
I also asked that question as well because I guess one of the great things as well about one of the things that perhaps you can say is good in terms of streaming is that people can kind of now, or online, a new generation of people can kind of also access some of the older works. Like, there's still a new generation of people who are still coming to grips with how great SoapKills were.
يوم شفتك شفتها وين وبأي عين.
And I know you moved along now so far from that time. When you look back at your time with SoapKills, did you know that what you were doing was something interesting, something important? Because
Yeah, of course I knew. I mean, I knew what I was doing, and I knew that I had to do it, and I felt that this was why I was there at that moment. So it's not an accident, but what was an accident is how I came to it. I came to it because I was an insider outsider. I never really felt I belonged to any place. Only parts of me would, but not. I was not at all feeling at home. But at the same time, I didn't know where home was. So for me, music became this place where I would find myself, where I would reconnect also to the past of this region, this country, of my family, because we had such a scattered, not only childhood, but history, narrative.
you think in a way, like particularly those times with the SoapKills, this was you exploring your identity because what you're saying is so interesting. It makes me now almost kind of reappraise the songs because in one hand, SoapKills sounded very modern, still sounds fresh. But at the same time, because
It's very nostalgic. All these
exactly those melodies are nostalgic.
And me, I was very nostalgic. I was really finding a way to soothe some things that I was connected. I was feeling that I channeled a lot of pain throughout. I don't know how, but I felt like I needed to transform this and also to rebel, because I was not going to pursue any kind of like traditional way or conventional way of existing or of building my life. And I wanted to very clearly find my own path. And it wasn't easy. People would think that it was, no, it wasn't easy. I was also confronted to a lot of not only criticism, but just a lot of pressure.
When the SoapKills effectively, I guess, disbanded in 2005, was that an act? Was that part of you trying to kind of reclaim yourself and, as you're saying, cut away whatever restrictions or whatever things you felt were holding you down and do something fresh, present yourself in a new context?
Every record for me is a new adventure. So it's not like I needed to just do my own things. Now the world has changed. We have changed. Even the interaction with music has changed. I remember when I started, with SoapKills, and even now I'm going back to that. I remember when I started, I never wanted to appear. I always felt that having to show my image was violating something. And then when I did Arabology and I did the project with Mirwais, I really had a mission between me and myself to break this resistance of not showing my face. But I did, I think, and after that, I was more present physically, because I thought that if I'm singing Arabic and I want this somehow I felt that I needed to appear so that I can put a face on the voice and maybe it can connect to more people. And I felt that it was important to do so. And now I don't feel the same way at all, because I would like to use images for fun and to experiment with them as the way I do with the music. And so I have been writing and also directing some of the clips, and also engaging with filmmakers or artists, animators, etc. And this has been really fun, and it has enriched my world so much. And I want to continue in this path. I think this is this is how I want to evolve, actually, and where I want to evolve towards something more multidisciplinary.
Just wondering about that as well. Just being in Paris, being such a vibrant and culturally interesting city, the options that you have. A lot of, particularly your solo work, has been shaped by living away from Lebanon. And I wonder, do you find that distance, does it give you, I guess, a clearer creative lens? Or does the distance sometimes make it harder to kind of sustain that connection? I wonder how you feel about that.
Actually, I have to say this record is about exactly this, the sense of living in two places at the same time, in two temporalities, into like living. Sometimes I feel like it's absurd because I'm living here, but I'm living the time of war that is there, and I don't think you can ever disconnect, because all the people I love are there. Because this is my country at the end, and I did manage to create my own relationship to it, and I care a lot for everybody there. Paris is great, but I don't have the emotional engagement that I have with Lebanon. Lebanon, it's a really important source of inspiration. Lebanon, the region, Palestine. This is what, at the moment, nourishes my reflections. It's a window through which I see the world also. But I'm far. I'm far. I'm not there. I'm not living what they are living. I'm living something else. And yeah, it's not something that you can disconnect from.
Bin So Bizakar, the album closes with Reminiscence. What's interesting for me as well is what you described it, which is like almost like a mystic hymn. It ends the album in a very reflective note.
Yeah.
it does feel like a natural ending to the record, right? Now, ending it with that song, was that a conscious statement about, I guess, where you are right now as an artist? Because it seems like you're almost kind of taking stock of everything, and this is how I feel. And I'll leave you with that.
For me, this song is in a way is an opening because it has space. One thing that really inspired me, and especially this song, I worked on it while I was there, was I stayed in Sicily for 3 months in 2020, right after the Beirut explosion. The Beirut explosion killed me. Like I was really, it was the first time, like I have experienced many wars through television. And this was the first time I experienced this kind of like violence and destruction and pain and sorrow through my phone, in my house, in my room. This is what the song Home is about. And in the living room, like it's kind of I was in a totally different place than, like I was physically here in Paris, but my head was and my heart was, and so after like 2 months after, it was a friend of ours came to the house and she ate, I remember she ate maqloube, this Palestinian dish, and it means upside down. And she told us, why don't you come to Sicily for a week or 10 days and have a break? And so we said, yeah, we went to Sicily and there was the lockdown here in Paris for a 2 months lockdown. And we decided to stay in Sicily. And we stayed 3 months in Sicily in the most unbelievable place in the middle of nature. So it was really like a magical thing. And I think this album would have never been the same if I didn't have lived this experience where I didn't, because I found some balance. I took this vibe and I wanted something really, I always do this. I actually, when I work, of course, I have Arabic instruments and I have Arabic. I sing in Arabic and all of this, but I like to mix all the influences that inspire me. I'm really inspired by Pakistani music, by some Japanese music. I listen to a lot of really old stuff, and I wanted this, this record somehow to displace the borders. This is Arabic. This is rock. This is this. I don't care for these borders. So I wanted to do some encounters, to create some encounters.
And I guess the whole world will get to hear that record, the whole album, when Bin Sabab Zakar is out on September the 19th. I believe that's on our calendar. Yasmine Hamdan, thank you so much for joining us on Tarab. That's all for this episode of Tarab. Thanks for listening, and be sure to check in next week to hear from our next featured artist. Yasmine Attaji is our producer. Dua Farid is our editor. Arthur Edison is our audio engineer. And I've been your host, Saeed Saeed.